Over this past decade, there's been some interesting decisions by WWE, and these are what I believe to be the 5 worst ones. And just to make it clear, this is 5 decisions that I believe affected the company as a whole, and not just decisions that affected like a match or something like that. So Seth Rollins, Bray Wyatt, sure, it ruined their Hell in a Cell, but it didn't affect either one of their careers. And Roman Reigns' dog food thing, it didn't affect his career either. We very much so all know that. Now, the kind of decisions we're talking about are like number 5, no women's mid-card or tag titles until 2019 and 2024 and 2025 respectively. Because there were so many women around this time that definitely did deserve singles titles that sadly never got them. Women like Kairi Sane and Shayna Baszler were coming off incredible NXT runs. Shayna Baszler still has one of the best NXT championship runs that we've seen, yet neither one of them has ever gotten a women's world title. Then you have a woman like Ruby Riott, who I don't believe was ever going to be a women's world champion, but definitely could have been in that US or IC scene, but sadly that belt wouldn't come around so way after she was already gone to AEW. A woman like Carmella, I feel, just really suffered from the fact that she wasn't looked like as a credible champion, and maybe had she had some mid-card gold before getting the world title, she would have been looking a lot better. You got a woman like Nia Jax, who I believe could have developed properly in the US titles division or the IC division, instead of being in that world title division, where I feel like as if early on she just wasn't ready for that, mainly because she didn't really have many matches under her belt when the time she got to the main roster. Then you can look at Toni Storm, which we all know how talented she is nowadays, but coming out of NXT, she didn't look that good at all. Yet she was put into the world title scene against Charlotte Flair. I feel like being in, the mid-card scene would have been a lot better for her to start her career off in WWE, and maybe she's still in WWE today, who knows? The women's tag belt is honestly one of the weirder ones to never really get added, because you had a lot of women's tag teams. You had AJ Lee and Paige, who were a tag team for a while. You had Beth Phoenix and Natalya, who were a tag team for a while. You have Lay Cool, you have the Bellas, you have a lot of women's tag teams there, and no tag belts that could have helped out so many of those women. It's much easier to develop in the mid-card and the tag scene than it is in the world title scene, because you're looked at as a world champion. You're compared to all the other world champions in the world. But if you're in the tag and mid-card scene, you're not really being compared to many people, so it's a lot easier to develop. But because we didn't get these belts for a while, a lot of women's development was definitely stifled. Speaking of stifled, number 4, the Undisputed Tag Titles. Now, don't get me wrong, these guys did a whole lot for this tag division. They actually helped it out way more than they ever did hurt it. Now, the problem is when you talk about the other Undisputed Tag Team Champions, Sammy and KO, Judgment Day multiple times, Cody and Jay. I always felt like as if KO and Sammy should have been the end of the Undisputed Tag Teams, and they really should have just had both belts be split up right there. Either get the Raw ones or the Smackdown ones, one of the two. Judgment Day definitely didn't need both of the belts. They could have just used one of the belts, but I feel like as if they've always been trying to make this group just have so much dang gold so they can look like one of the most prominent factions, if not the most prominent faction ever. But the team that definitely didn't need it, and I mean absolutely definitely did not need it, is those guys right there, Cody and Jey Uso. One of these two face tag teams definitely should have been the ones to end the heel tag team's reign of terror, whether it be KO and Sammy or Cody and Jay. And I feel like as if KO and Sammy would have been the best part, because the tag division just got so stifled around this time. Again, the Usos still helped the tag division until you got towards the end, where it was basically just them versus KO and Sammy, and no other tag team had anything to do. But for the most part, they still did help it. These other teams didn't really help it so much. Besides Judgment Day, but even then, the beginning of their run, no. Towards the end of it, yes. But I'm going to be real with you. Ever since these Undisputed Tag Belts ever became a thing, the tag division has not been the same. Before this, it was very much so prominent and flourishing. Ever since this time, though, it has been abysmal. Besides one time, which is number 3, shifting from 3 hours to 2 hours for Smackdown. So from August, September 2024 to April, May 2025, the Smackdown tag division has looked amazing. It was one of the best times for tag wrestling. It looked as good as it did back when it was the Usos and the New Day running things, and you had the bar in there and all that. This looked amazing. But ever since that 3 hour to 2 hour shift, what happened to it? What happened to the amazing tag wrestling that we were getting basically every single Smackdown? What happened to DIY storyline? They had a whole deep one with Pretty Deadly that just never flourished into anything. What happened to MCMG, this super big free agent signing, and it just did nothing after getting their tag belts? What the heck happened to Fraxium, who were coming off one of the best years for a tag team in 2024? In 2025, they've done basically nothing. They've had 2 title shots, but that's about it. They ain't had any storylines or anything like that, even though they're supposed to be involved in this whole entire Wyatt Six storyline. Oh, but then let's talk about the women's side of this thing, because the women's tag scene has been even worse. What happened to Charlexa? They were super dang hot before SummerSlam, got the tag belts, got this one big promo, and then every other week they've basically just been backstage. And that's just it. The crowd very rarely gets to see them or interact with them unless they're having a match, which, mind you, hasn't even been that often. They've mainly been having singles matches. Oh, and then let's talk about the woman that once was. Julia, the beautiful madness, super dang hyped up coming in the WWE, has basically fallen off a cliff. You know why? Because we've put her in a random pairing with a woman that she has little to, actually no, she has zero connection with, and we've never been able to explain this at all. You want to know why we haven't been able to explain that? Because of the 3-hour to 2-hour shift. We have seen one clip of these two women who were backstage talking to each other that was never highlighted on at all in the slightest. Like, just think about this. Before that 3-hour to 2-hour shift, Chelsea Green's U.S. Championship run looked amazing. It was so damn good. And when Zelina Vega got the belt, everybody loved it. And then the 2-hour shift hit, and Zelina Vega was barely on screen and never got to talk in front of the crowd. It got to a point where everybody was saying, why'd you take the belt off of Chelsea? But no, it was actually the right time to take the belt off of Chelsea because she had no other competitors. The problem was they did nothing with Zelina. She 3-1'd Chelsea Green, Alba Fire, and Piper Nivens. It was really just her versus Chelsea, but Alba Fire and Piper Nivens were ringside as well, trying to get involved. She beat all of them at the exact same time and then would go on to continue having feuds with them because there wasn't enough time in the show to create a new story. So they just kept her in the same story, even though she already beat them. All of these divisions have been so overly affected. And as you can see, it's two of the women's divisions. And we could talk about the women's world title scene also being affected by the 3-hour to 2-hour shift as well. But all three of these divisions have just crumbled. They have just been absolutely nothing as of these past few months because of that 3-hour to 2-hour shift. A lot of people wanted that change, but they shouldn't have wanted that change. You should always want more wrestling, just want better wrestling. This was a horrible decision. Almost as bad as this next one, in my opinion, Sasha Banks versus Charlotte Flair Hell in a Cell match. Now, I know, I said I wasn't going to pick any specific matches, but if it hurts a career, I definitely have to pick it. And Charlotte Flair winning this match made no sense because it hurt Charlotte Flair's career. It didn't hurt Sasha Banks as much because she was still super dang over and she actually got even more over around this time. But Charlotte Flair became the most hated wrestler on the roster, and not good hate. She did not get that good Roman Reigns type hate. No, she got Logan Paul, get the hell out of here type hate. Nobody wanted her around anymore. She wasn't even allowed to be a face when she tried being a face. Like, for so long, WWE was looking for another top heel because they just knew that Charlotte Flair was too hated to even be cared for when it came to storylines, which shouldn't be a thing. Charlotte Flair should have been running the women's division for the next 10 years, and we all should have been appreciating it. But because there was so much hate for her, she wasn't allowed to develop as a heel. A woman as accomplished as her should have been able to do these things, but she wasn't able to because she had so much hate, which I do believe comes from this one match right here, that Hell in a Cell match. And because they were always searching for this next big heel, it felt like as if they were trying to push women to be that next big heel that just weren't fitting because they either weren't ready or didn't have a connection with the crowd. Women like Nia, Shayna, Nikki eventually tried to making Ronda that woman. It just did not work at all. But something that still don't work to this day, though, is the U.S. Championship. Number one, never upping any one of the U.S. champions. And what I mean by upping is a man wins the U.S. Championship and then eventually goes on to win the WWE Championship. These are the only three that really did, and AJ and KO were already WWE champions before this. KO was a Universal Champion, and Bobby was already a decorated world champion in many other promotions. But you had wrestlers like Rusev, who was super damn hot around this time with Rusev Day, never put a world championship onto him. Baron Corbin, super dang hot, looking like the next great, never put a world championship onto him. You got Bobby Roode and somehow fumbled this, even though he was a TNA legend. Samoa Joe, another TNA legend, never got a world championship. Andrade was coming off an absolutely crazy NXT run, never got a world championship. And LA Knight still ain't got a world championship yet. The goal with the US title should be the same as the IC title. You win this, and then within a year or two, you go on to win the world championship, and WWE's just never done that again besides these 3 times. And because of that, the US belt has looked like crap. And because of that, every person that's won this belt since, it's just felt like whatever. But hey, y'all go ahead and let me know down below, what do y'all think is the worst decision made by WWE over this past decade? And if you haven't already, make sure you like and follow for more.